Hey,
We're going.
Hey everybody.
Wow.
What's up? Look at this fresh haircut.
Just recently. That's
Nice
why
job.
we're late. I had to get a haircut. That's part of it.
Part of it. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
So we are today. I'm stealing Devin's thunder. I don't know if he's going to announce this or not, but I am. We're going to give away a bag of treats to one lucky commenter. So leave a comment on this video. It can be a question, preferably a question.
Preferably.
It could be just a hello. It could be tell us where you're from. It could be whatever you want. Any comment. We'll pick someone who's commented during this live.
Type this in right now.
And yep, he'll comment too. We're gonna pick someone who's commented during this live, and we're gonna give out a free bag of training treats. Hey, Jan. Free bag of training. Do you want any dog tips you want to give today? You good?
I'm good, but I do like Devin's hair.
Thanks, Jan. That's the approval I needed.
Yeah, so comment on there, and we'll pick one person. We'll send you a free bag of training treats. We talk about this a lot. I know we're biased. I'm telling you, these treats are killer. They don't
even compare to anyone else.
No, they're so good.
I'm serious.
They're seriously easy. The intensity of like a serial killer.
Say I'm
there.
wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
No, they're awesome. Like dogs of them. We've had a number of people say, "Well, my dog doesn't like treats." They try them. Wow, this is the first treat they've ever enjoyed. So, they're good. They're good stuff. With that said, we've had a couple questions come across surrounding this. We got some emails as well that said like, so how do I do this training if my dog doesn't like treats? Right? We talked about this a fair bit. This will be a repeat for some of you guys, but for some of you guys that are new or were wondering about this, it'll be helpful. And it's all about finding your pup's currency. So what is your dog willing to exchange for complying with the requests that you make of them, right? Most dogs like treats. A high value treat is awesome. We love the Pupford freeze-dried beef liver. It could be little bits of unseasoned deli meat. It could be tiny bits of cheese. Careful you don't give them too much of that one, both for fat content and for just like calories on that a lot of times. It could be their kibble could be a great treat for your pup. There's a number of different treats you could use. So treats, something edible, is one type of currency. Another type of currency might be a toy.
And using it as like play. Some dogs, they really just crave that like attention, right? Or that interaction with you. So the tug toy, they do what you're asking them. You give them a really quick game of tug and then get back to training.
Yeah, so it's good to make that distinction too, though, because one might be play with a toy and one might be a chew toy.
Yeah.
So all dogs are going to be a little bit different. Your pup might not like chew toys. They might like play. They might not like play. They might like treats. But it could be one of those things, or it could be physical affection, potentially. Give them a scratch on the head or a belly scratch or a snuggle on the couch. That might be what they respond to. It might be going on a quick walk. It might be all dog, and that's a little bit harder when you're trying to do like a whole training session. But generally, like you need to find your dog's currency and find out what it is that they're going to respond to, and that's how you can most effectively do training sessions with your pups. So for those of you who have pups that don't like treats or that may not like toys, but they do like physical affection, that's a great way to run a training session with them, is find what they enjoy and use that to help incentivize them to make better decisions. Once you find that currency with your pup, that's going to be your secret weapon when you're training them.
Yeah, those are great ideas. And one thought that I've had, and part of this is from personal experiences, sometimes you might think your dog doesn't like treats, but it might just be the environment. They might be overly distracted, or they might just have too much energy, right? Yeah. And that's why we talk so much about exercising your dog and getting their energy out physically and mentally. And then also when you're teaching new behaviors, start in a low distraction environment. Because one of my dogs, she's like a year old.
I think we're back.
Sorry if that cut off. I don't know how to stop myself from getting phone calls because I turn like my service off, but I'd get Wi-Fi calls. So I don't know how to solve that. So sorry, we're back. I don't know if it got cut off or what. But
so that could be your comment that wins you the free treats.
What?
Tell Devin how to fix that problem.
Yeah, someone told me how to make it so I don't get Wi-Fi calls.
That'll enter you into the giveaway too. So
Yes.
for those of you just joining us, any comment on the thread will enter you to win a free bag of treats. We're going to pick someone randomly and send out a bag to them so they can try out the Pupford freeze-dried beef liver training treats.
Yeah. And yeah, we had a question. I had a thought and I forgot it, and so I just agreed with you.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got a question from Debbie. She asked this question earlier. So she had kind of two questions, I guess. So I'll kind of do the second part first, just because it made me really happy when I read it. And we appreciate this, Debbie. So Debbie said, just wanted to add one more thing. I've been following Zach for the last 2 months, and this training is priceless. I was going to pay a trainer and found out that they withhold water as part of the training. That's not cool. Now I'm training her myself with Zach. Thank you, Zach and Pupford. That makes us super happy.
Yeah,
we recognize that, not only is there are a lot of trainers out there who don't teach the best methods and use some very just not cool methods, basically. Some things we don't agree with the punishment and the withholding things and just very negative things. So we're super happy that this training is helping you out, and we know it's helped a lot of people as well. So thanks for that comment. That means a lot. It really does.
Speaking of that, before you go into part two, this is a positive reinforcement training, as you know. That's why you joined it. That's why you're interested in it. Just please keep in mind that that's the underlying factor around all of this training. It is positive reinforcement. When you do see things that seem a little bit off, we do our best to police the community. We spend time in there. Tyler spends a ton of time in there. He's doing a great job helping educate everybody. We do all that we can to try and keep things under control in the community. It's growing like crazy though, and you can see that, like, if you go and look at the chronological posts from the community, you'll scroll for a little while and you're in like this morning, so there's a ton of interaction going on there, both new posts and comments. So when you see stuff if it's not positive reinforcement, if it is teaching methods that are outside of that, please feel free to report them to us as well, and we'll take a look and make sure that we get that stuff cleaned up.
There's 3 little dots on the post. It's on like the top right, and on the I'm speaking on desktop. I think it's the same on mobile. And then to the right of the comment, there's just 3 little dots. If you click that, there's an option to report to admin or something similar to that. When you do that, it flags us so that we can go specifically and look at that.
Yeah.
Second option, you can also tag one of us. You can tag @Pupford, you can tag Tyler, you can tag Mike, you can tag myself, Devin, and that'll again flag us so we can come and look at it. Because at the end of the day, we need your guys' help. I was looking in one of the other days, and we had over 100 posts in one day. I mean, that is just a lot of stuff going on, which
that's
we
not
love.
counting all the comments that are happening on those, which is like hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands a day.
Yeah, some days there are thousands literally of comments. So again, we do our best, but help us out. It's a community. Like, I know it's, Facebook calls them groups, but we really like to think of them as communities. Absolutely. Where it's, we're helping each other out. We're teaching, helping each other learn and grow as parents, and, learning different techniques. And part of that as well is just communities help each other kind of police the environment. So, and to Debbie's question here. So Debbie asked, my Emma jumps on me. When I say down, she does it. Then jumps again to get another treat. This goes on and on. So I read this, and I've heard other instances where these types of things happen, where your dog kind of like outmaneuvers you in a sense of like, okay, well, I know if I keep jumping, I'll keep being told to go down and get a treat. So one thing is, in those situations, you may want to just kind of remove yourself from the situation and give your dog some time to like decompress. Just because if they're kind of getting in that kind of cycle of, okay, every time I jump, they're going to ask me to get down, maybe get away from that and do a different behavior. Maybe work on some stay training and staying with distance. Or, some come when called, just some different behaviors to kind of mix it up so that they're not kind of going over and over in that and creating that kind of like negative behavior, just knowing that they're going to get a positive experience afterwards. And then even more so beyond that, if your dog does jump, get them to come down, give your kind of cue word of yes or good, and then ask for a different behavior as well, kind of in that one simple motion, and have them lay down or have them do a shake or have them do whatever it may be, so that you're rewarding that other behavior instead of just getting down. it can be kind of a tough one. What do you
Yeah.
have thoughts on that?
No, I think stepping back with the training too. We've actually covered this on the last couple of lives, but it's an underlying principle that will help with jumping. Puppy jumping is a big concern for a lot of people, and I'll just cover it real quickly here again. One of the best ways to help or stop that problem is taking a step back, starting with your puppy on a leash. And like I said, I don't want to talk over this too much, but I do think it's helpful. We have covered it in the last live, but get your pup on a leash, practice with someone else, get them into a sit stay, and as someone approaches them, do not let your puppy go towards them. As soon as your pup stands up or goes towards them to greet them, the other person should turn around, move away, kind of remove themselves so that the puppy's punishment is, well, I don't actually get to interact with that person at this point. When they turn around, get the pup into a sit stay again, and then have the person approach again. Practice that over and over and over until the other person is able to get all the way to your pup and be able to greet them with a scratch on the head, and then at that point, or give them a scratch on the head without them standing up and moving towards them. So practice that beforehand and practice it over and over and over and over and over, and that will help reaffirm the behavior of how you or how your pup should properly interact with someone when they're near them, and that they shouldn't jump, but if they want to get a scratch, they need to sit from the beginning. So that would help too. So remove yourself from the situation, distract into a different behavior, and then also practice meaningfully when they're not in the situation of jumping, and work with them with another person on that leash behavior stuff that helps them learn how to jump.
Definitely.
Not jump.
Not jump. Or
Or jump.
Or jump.
If you want to teach them that.
Yeah. Well, then you can teach them when not to. Yeah.
Yep.
So we had a couple other questions come in. So we've actually seen this one a lot in the community. This was from Dallas McElroy. This was earlier or yesterday. The question was, my dog has stopped eating his food and I don't know why. What could cause this? So first and foremost, I would say number one, if it's an abrupt change of something, you probably want to talk to a vet just to rule out any type of actual health problem. A lot of times when our pups have really extreme swings in their behavior or extreme swings even in sometimes their obedience per se, it can be due to a health issue. Just like with you and I, when you're not feeling well, it's hard for you to act right. You don't have appetite. You don't even want to listen to what people are telling you, kind of thing. And it's similar with our pups. So number one would be talk to your vet. Number two, just some general ideas for avoiding picky eaters, I guess you could say. There are some dogs that are just maybe a little bit more picky than others. I think I've, with my 3 dogs, there's one that's way more picky than the other ones, and the other one would just eat anything possible. But there are some techniques that you can do to help avoid and, I guess, mitigate that pickiness as much as possible. Number one would be have a feeding schedule and stick with it. Dogs are creatures of habit, and so we highly recommend not free feeding your dog. Again, I don't know if you are doing this, but just giving some general tips. So, set a schedule of, okay, every day at 8 a.m. The food comes out, they have the opportunity to eat, you leave it down for 20 minutes, whatever it may be, and then once that's done, you take it away. And then you have your next feeding schedule at 5 o'clock, and you just build that schedule with your dog, and they start to realize, oh, okay, when the food's out, this is when I need to eat. Second, just kind of general tip, there's a bunch. We actually have a blog that we can link you to with, I think, 11 feeding tips. But another one would just be to avoid table scraps, because if you're constantly giving your dog table scraps or things from your plate or human food, you're kind of setting them up to only want those things, and they're not going to be as interested in their food likely. I mean, they're going to see that almost as like a treat all the time, or treat's the wrong word, but just like with a kid, right? If you only ever gave a toddler, candy, and that's all they would ever want. Whenever the healthy stuff came out, they wouldn't want it. And so part of it is just being, I hate to use the word strict, but kind of just being strict with the schedule at least, right? And strict with what you're willing to give your dog and what you want them to eat, and helping them learn. And part of it too is some dogs are just pickier when they're younger. It's a phase thing sometimes.
Well, if you're giving table scraps all the time too, you're gonna have the potential to deal with weight issues with your pup, because most people, they'll give them table scraps here and there, and then they look at the back of the bag and say, okay, my dog needs this many cups of food, so I better give them exactly that many cups of food.
Yep.
And you don't incorporate, okay, wait a minute, how many calories did they eat in addition to that with the treats that they had, with the table scraps that they had, with the the bully stick that they had, with everything else they've eaten across the day. So you need to consider their consumption of food holistically. It's like us, right? If we're snacking all the time in between meals, they'll still count as calories if you're on a diet, right?
Yeah.
Well, they count as calories whether you're on a diet or not, but
Right.
yeah. So that's the other thing to consider with that as far as table scraps go. But
Sorry, that just got really real for me, right? Like real personal. I just love snacking, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I should probably not do that as much. But
Yep.
similar principles for your dog. And again, we're biased, but that is one reason that we love the Pupford freeze-dried beef liver training treats. Is they're only 2 calories per treat.
Yep.
And a lot of people even break them up in half or break them up in a quarter, which a calorie per treat. Like, you just got to factor those things in when you're feeding your dog.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of really good questions coming in here. Again, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, while you're looking, I thought you were going to look up your next question.
I was just going to say, for those of you who are joining us, we're having a lot more people coming on. We are doing kind of a little flash fun giveaway here. So we're going to give away a bag of our freeze-dried training treats right here. We're going to give a bag of these away to one comment in this thread.
Yeah.
Whether you're asking a question or...
Yeah. Saying, I keep cutting you off.
You're good. You're about to say what I'm
I
going to say.
missed the live
Maybe
on
we
Tuesday,
could,
so I'm back and I'm like ready to go.
Like, I could say, even if you're...
You just said more than one word.
Oh, even
if
you're...
This is the worst.
Okay.
Sorry for exposing everyone to that.
These are
comment
the training treats.
where you're from, say hello, ask a question, anything that you want in there. Any comment you want, we will pick one lucky winner and send a free bag of training treats your way.
Those are the treats.
That you can try with your
Sure.
pup. So, while you're looking up the next question, we did get a question, or this was just something, a post in the community from Emily Childers or Childers. Sorry if I said that wrong.
I may have cut off part of the name, so
Childress?
forgive me if I did.
Childerson?
It might have just been Childers.
Emily Childers. She says, since we finally gathered all the training necessities in the book, we have started the 30-day training process tomorrow, or we are starting the 30-day training process tomorrow. Nice. I am honestly very nervous for this. We got through SIT in one of Zach's videos before I heard of the program, so I'm feeling pretty faithful. I know that training takes patience and enthusiasm, but I wanted to see if anyone had any tips. This will be my first time training, so I'm a bit nervous. A couple points on that. I know that you weren't asking a question specifically on this, and I know that you've got some interaction on that post since for people giving you a lot of good tips. But generally, it's normal to be nervous. You're taking on a big commitment to make sure that pup turns into a responsible adult dog at some point. One thing to consider, certain behaviors take different amounts of times for different dogs, right? So one dog might potty train really quickly, but they struggle with puppy biting. One dog might understand crate training right away, but they still bark. It is totally different for every dog. So don't get too caught up in time frames or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just be patient, because training takes time and every dog's gonna learn a little differently. So that would be one tip, be patient. Another one would be, don't be afraid to take a step back. Like, if you feel like your dog's having some regression, or if you feel like, yes, they nailed sit today, what happened, or they nailed sit yesterday, what happened today? Why aren't they doing this behavior anymore? Don't be afraid to take a step back, work through those situations again, and help them reaffirm those behaviors. So if you're taking steps back, that'll don't feel bad about it. It happens all the time with dogs. Right?
Yeah, and I think those principles apply, not just to Emily, of course, or not just to someone getting their first puppy or brand new at training, but all of us. I think we can all remember to, especially the taking a step back. And that actually leads us to our next question. It was from Amanda. Thanks for your question, Amanda. It says, we have an 8-month-old Rhodesian Ridgeback. I've tried practicing recall with a long leash and high-value treats. He still ignores me and does what he wants. When others call him, even strangers, he comes running back. Any questions? Or any suggestions, sorry. I don't know why I read that as questions. So my first question here would be, what is your dog's recall like inside the home? And that might sound kind of basic, right? But lots of times when we think of recall or teaching our dog to come when called, we're thinking of, okay, I'm out at somewhere at the beach or at the park or something and I need them to come back. Like, that's the moments that we're really kind of hoping for the recall to be solid, but it starts much before that. So my big recommendation would be get the recall 100% inside your house. Like, 0 distractions, on a leash still, working inside your house, in your living room, that every time you call them, they come. And then and only then do you step out to maybe like a backyard or a front yard or a driveway or somewhere that's a little bit more distracting, but not, a park with a bunch of people or cars going by or whatever it may be. Those incremental baby steps, because my dog Scout, she struggles. Recall is one of her it's the behavior that she struggles with the most and that we're working on with her the most. And the most success that I have seen with her in these past months that I've been working with her has been when we are doing those kind of like baby steps instead of just, being outside in high distracting environments and thinking, okay, she's going to come when called now, but working on it inside the house, working on it in the backyard, working on it, on leash, and just taking those baby steps. I think you'll see a lot of really good progress with that, with just, setting your dog up for success and ingraining that behavior just slowly.
Yeah, we got some brave people here. Chrissy Rodekin says she's training 2 puppies, and Sherry Bell says we're working with 3 puppies. Y'all are brave. Yeah. It's hard enough with 1. 2 and 3 is rough. So good on you, and keep up the good work with those pups. We had a question from Jennifer Waltz. She said, "How do you get my puppy to stop biting when I tell her no? She comes back with a bark and bites harder." So a couple suggestions with that. One is they think that your pup thinks they're playing, most likely. They think that when you're saying no and you're kind of acting aggressively about that, for lack of a better word, they probably think that you're wanting them to continue to bite you. So there are a few things that will help with that. One is teaching them what things they should bite and what things they shouldn't bite. So having a tug toy or something like that, or a chew toy, and giving them that when they're getting really playful and bitey, giving them the opportunity to wear off some of that bite energy on that will be helpful. Another thing, we highly recommend crate training your pup. When you do crate training right, the crate becomes a safe place for them. It's their den. I've said this before, but our pup Doris loves her crate. It's her safe place. When the fireworks are going off outside during different holidays, she'll go to her crate and she'll lay there and it'll calm her down. So crate training we feel it's a really underutilized tool, and we highly recommend doing it. So if you crate train and your pup is acting really aggressively with biting, which is totally natural for puppies, by the way, don't get too frustrated. It's a natural behavior, and puppies, they want to bite. That's how they explore the world. That's how they understand their different surroundings. So just keep some patience there too, because it happens, it's normal. But when they get really bitey, and if redirecting into a training session or giving them some type of chew toy or tug toy to play with, if that's not working like you need it to, maybe they need a few minutes to kind of chill out in the crate for a little bit. And that will help a lot. So the crate training will help. Redirecting to a training session, so get them into a sit-stay or a sit and look at me, and then rewarding them with a treat and helping them kind of calm down in that way. That'll be good. The other one, like I said before, would be giving them a toy that they can chew on and helping them understand, okay, this is an appropriate thing to chew on, and you get rewarded with play or with the ability to chew that. Or my hand is an inappropriate thing to chew on, so you don't get rewarded, and I'm removing myself from the situation there, where you're either the pup will either be put in the crate, or you will go to the other room, or something like that. So
yeah, those are great thoughts, and a lot of people too have brought up, and there's been a lot of questions about puppy biting in the community, and a lot of people will say that they recognize that their pup gets the most mouthy or bitey when they're tired. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes they just need a nap, right? Just like little kids, they get super cranky when they are tired. And so sometimes they just need a nap. And Mike was saying, the crate, you get them in there with a nice little toy or something to kind of help them calm down. And lots of times they're just going to zonk out and take a little nap.
And sometimes if they zonk out, we need a nap too.
Yep. So we condone not condone.
No,
Promote.
but honestly,
Promote
like
naps.
sometimes when you're tired,
I
you
don't know
get super frustrated. So that
Yeah,
makes a
yeah.
difference too. And puppies,
Yeah.
like just going into puppy lifestyle right now, right? Puppies will keep you up at night, which makes you tired, which makes you grumpy, which makes you less patient when you're training, which makes these behaviors seem a lot more frustrating
true.
than they actually are. So
That's very true.
maybe you do need a nap. Maybe the puppy needs a nap and you do too. Maybe, sometimes
need a
removing
nap.
yourself from the situation, we could all use one,
We
right?
all need a nap.
But sometimes removing yourself from the situation a little bit helps to recenter what's actually happening, helps to calm down a little bit, and then you can go and have a more effective training session after that. So
Yep, agreed 100%. We have a lot of really, really good questions coming
let's
in
just
here.
cover a couple more here, and then we can announce the winner of the treats here. Does that sound good?
Yep, sounds great.
Because I think maybe we have some people that are hanging so that they can see if they won the treats. But then there's also a ton of good questions here, and I don't think we'll be able to get to all of them in this live while we're talking, but we'll go back and try and answer some of them in the comments afterwards.
So one of the questions here was from Kellyanne Smith. I think you've asked this on the previous post. My dog will bark for hours in her crate when we leave. We can't leave our house without worrying about her anxiety escalating or our neighbors complaining. So without knowing too many details, I'll give some general information. And then if you want to contact us with maybe some potential next steps or further steps, happy to do that as well. Number one would, again, I know it sounds like a cop-out answer, but exercise. Oftentimes those high anxiety dogs, it can be, number one, that they don't have enough physical exercise, but oftentimes mental stimulation. Lots of times they're just looking for things to be able to do, and it's going to lead to anxiety. Second would be taking small steps with the anxiety training. There's some videos from Zach that we can link you to. But the general concept is, he was in this video, he's teaching a very, very high anxiety dog. And he goes in there, he has the dog in one room, he walks out and just turns his back and then turns around and rewards the dog for being calm. And then the next step is he closes the door just for a second, opens it right back up, rewards the dog for being calm, and then kind of incrementally increases the time that the dog is, in the other room or not in eyesight or whatever it may be, and just rewarding those positive moments as they're happening. Just another thought on separation anxiety. It's an extremely tough behavior to overcome for a lot of people. Here at Pupford, we really, truly, we try to give people as many resources as possible for them to help to overcome problem behaviors. Essentially, that's why we created this free dog training class. We have, blogs on our site. We chat with people all the time, but we also recognize that some people need the help of a one-on-one certified dog trainer, and that's totally okay. And there are certain behaviors where it's often a lot better to make that upfront investment in the beginning to kind of fix the problem before it gets even worse. And that's where finding a certified dog trainer can be a great solution. There are some websites that aggregate positive reinforcement dog trainers. If you need help finding those sites, you can message us and we can help you. Here at Pupford, we also we work with a handful of certified dog trainers who can do video conference training sessions with you. It's a lot less expensive than a normal one-on-one private session with a trainer. I think our 30-minute session is $35 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact prices. It just gives you the opportunity to talk to a certified trainer and get that one-on-one help via video conference. The sessions are recorded, and then even then you still just might need an in-person trainer. But anxiety is one of those things where it's worth investing in the beginning to fix the situation before it potentially gets worse or your dog hurts themselves or something like that, because it's one of those behaviors that can really just kind of escalate on itself, a lot like aggression. Yeah. So that would be just kind of a general thing. And I don't want to feel like I'm, not answering your question or not giving you solutions. It's just some situations you just need that in-person touch of a professional trainer.
Yeah, but there are a couple things that might help as well while you're working with a trainer or working with some of those steps that Devin was talking about, slowly increasing the amount of time that you're away from your pup. something like, I mean, one thing that's not going to, and these won't be things that solve the problem, but things that help. One is make sure your dog gets plenty of exercise.
Yeah.
That'll help a lot. They'll be able to release some of that pent-up anxiety by exercising. Two would be something that stimulates their mind. So if that's like a brain game or a snuffle mat or a frozen Kong, if you have a frozen Kong that you can leave with them or something like that, would be another thing that might help distract and engage that makes a difference for them. But yeah, those just things like that will help some. Not that it's going to solve the problem, but while you're working on the training for that, those types of things will help with it as well.
Yeah. And stay patient. Stick with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else we got?
So we just want to announce our winner of this little giveaway that we're doing. Do you want to announce it?
No, I do not. I want you to do it.
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
I kind of want to just keep building up the suspense.
No, just do it.
Okay, that's mean. I'm just kidding. So the winner of the free bag of training treats is Diane Howard.
Randomly picked from the list of comments.
Randomly picked. Diane, if you want to either DM Pupford or email hello@pupford.com and just tell us that you were the winner from the giveaway on the Facebook Live, we will get you that bag of training treats. And we probably have enough time to tackle a couple more questions here. But again, wow, I already forgot the name. Diane, sorry. Wow, I just spaced out for a second. Diane Howard, you are the winner of the free bag of training treats. So DM us or email hello@pupford.com and we will get you those treats. Okay, so we had a few other questions come in here. So this one was from Jessica James. It was a really interesting question. One that I don't see a ton, but I think it's good to talk about. So she said, would love to have more information on running with your dog. My dog is 1.5 years old, medium-ish, higher energy, tad overweight. Please tell me any tips and tricks. The dog and the human are both newbies to running, good and bad temperatures, collars, leashes, harnesses, things to do before/after the run, or just anything that you can tell me. So similar to a lot of the behaviors that you work on with training, whether it be come when called or stay, is just taking small steps. You don't want to, and I'm thinking more for the dog. This applies similarly to humans and going running as well. Is you're going to want to take just kind of the small steps, right? The first time you go out for a run, do it in a familiar area like in your neighborhood, and maybe just go out for half a mile or even just do like a fast walk with a couple little jogs in between. Just kind of letting your dog get used to that, I guess, motion of running alongside you. Of course, you're going to want to have hopefully a pretty solid, you want your dog to be pretty well behaved on the leash to be able to go running with them. That's just kind of the bottom line there. But yeah, start small. I prefer harnesses when I go running with my dogs. I just like that bit of control. That's whenever I go out on walks or on runs with my dogs. I prefer a harness over a collar just because it's a lot. They don't slip out of them, things like that. And secondly, I like to I don't like to give too much distance on the leash, but at the same time, you want to give your dog the ability to kind of get away from you so you're not running into them, essentially. And then, like I said, just kind of start small and do it in an environment that's familiar with you. And if you know like a certain route in your neighborhood that has no dogs or very few dogs or less distractions, maybe it's a nice trail, that's probably a good place to start. Just because, if your dog is prone to lunging or getting distracted by certain things, it can have some bad consequences when you go running. Because if you're like in a full-on run and your dog takes off the other direction, I've just had some experiences where I've been almost toppled by my dogs. But you learn and you kind of have the process. So just start small and work your way up as you're doing that. Yeah. I love running with my dogs though. It's great. They enjoy it too. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. All right. What else do we have here?
I think you gotta. Oh, you already are back.
Oh, you're backwards on this thing. What's wrong with you? Yes, exercise will. Christy Lee, I'm assuming that amount of exercise depends on age and breed. Mine is 11-week boxer shepherd. How do I know I have given her enough? You look like you want an answer.
No, it's a good question.
That is a great answer. It does depend on age and breed. with large breed puppies as they're growing, you want to, or in any puppies really, you want to be careful not to over-exercise them too much and potentially cause any joint issues or things like that. The typical amount is, the rule of thumb that we work by generally is 5 minutes for every month that your puppy is old, twice a day. So I know it's a little confusing. So as an example, if your puppy is 3 months old, so you take those 3 months times 5 minutes, which is 15 minutes, and then you do that twice a day. So 2 15-minute sessions a day is typically enough for most puppies that are 3 months old.
Yeah.
That's kind of the rule of thumb that we go by. And then once they get up to, about a year old, then you don't really have to worry about that anymore. You just judge based on the dog. Some dogs are able to go for hours and hours, and some dogs don't need that much exercise. So they'll kind of tell you as they go. If they're laying down all the time and saying, "Look, buddy, I'm done," then you'll know.
Well, and another thought too is if you are going out on like a long hike or something, or going on a long run with your dog once they are older, I would err on the side of giving more water breaks than less, just because they don't have a way really to tell you. Like sometimes you can visually, read their body language and kind of see when they're getting tired or when they need a drink, but err on the side of taking more breaks, a 5-minute break for every 10 or 15 minutes of hiking, who knows, whatever it is. But yeah, just kind of read your dog's body language and, give them more breaks than what you'd probably expect. Probably got time for what? One more question here?
One more question, yeah.
Okay. Or did you have one that you had been looking at?
Okay. I haven't picked one yet.
Okay, let's see here.
Wait for it.
Oh, it went backwards. That was confusing me. Okay.
Got this?
Yeah. I had seen it and I was like trying to search for it, but I missed it. Okay. My puppy pulls my socks off and I'm always walking around with bare feet now. He is obsessed. I take off my shoes and he loses his mind to go get my socks, and then he takes them away like he won $1 million and runs away. Cavalier Spaniel. I hate to laugh. It's like a little bit funny though, right? Like that your dog will literally just rip your socks off and go. So one behavior, it's the first one on the 30-day Perfect Pup class, would be leave it. And kind of part of that is drop. In the first few days of the video, I can't remember which day specifically, Zach kind of teaches how to do a structured game of fetch, which in turn is teaching your dog how to drop it. Part of that too is a lot of people, especially with really, really young puppies, he didn't say the age, but with the really, really young puppies is like if you chase after them, they think it's a game.
Yeah.
So oftentimes that's probably not the best route to go, but teaching your dog leave it. And then secondly would be, if they're pulling them off your feet, this maybe doesn't apply as much, but not leaving those basically distractions or those temptations out for your dog. If you know that they love getting into shoes, you got to just be a little bit more diligent about picking the shoes up and not giving them access, kind of controlling the environment. But yeah, I think leave it would be a really important one for a sock stealer.
Yeah, for sure. Redirecting to another toy as well. When they have the toy, teach a good game of leave it, or or teaching a good skill of leave it or drop it, and then giving them something as a replacement. At first it might be a high value treat that you're using as that exchange in value, but then after that it might be replacing it with another toy that is an appropriate chew toy, so they understand, okay, I can chew this, I can't chew this, but you got a happy puppy though. It's winning the lottery every day.
Yeah, I guess you'd never really have to buy toys, right? You could just designate certain socks to be like...
It might be a little hard.
It could get confusing. Sorry, that's bad. I just want to do one other really quick one. So Kim Lockhart asked how to break a stubborn streak. So a lot of dogs will go through like the teenage phase and become really, really stubborn. There is a whole lot of things that we could say about this. Number one would be, don't be afraid to take a step back. Going back to the basics, going to less distracting environments. And number two, what a lot of people have found success with, specifically in the group, I've seen a lot of threads about this, is incorporating more kind of like fun behaviors, right? Sometimes we get too caught up in I need to teach them to not pull on the leash, and training becomes this kind of like a chore almost. I hate to say it, but that's kind of what it turns into sometimes for some people. And so, find ways to incorporate games, incorporate, fun little behaviors like teaching your dog to spin or teaching them to high five, or things that are just a little bit less like, I don't know, behavior and more just like skills and fun and kind of making it an enjoyable experience for your dog. I think that's a big part of of what a lot of people, myself included, miss with training. Oftentimes we get so worried, like, okay, I've got to fix this bad behavior, that, you know, your training sessions become almost like you're like a drill sergeant or something, and you're just like so serious and focused on like fixing the behavior, and you get frustrated when it's not working. But sometimes just taking a step back, doing something fun, you know, engaging with your dog, finding a fun new trick for them to learn can be a great way to help at least like lessen a stubborn streak.
Yeah, and keep in mind that patience is powerful. A lot of times a day feels like a week, and a week feels like a month when you have a problem behavior.
Yeah.
So in reality, you might have a dog that's having a stubborn streak for a week or two, and it's just a small blip on the whole radar. So keep that in mind. A lot of these problems, as your pup gets older and you continue to work with them, they'll get better and better at them. They'll go through phases where they're a little more impatient or a little more stubborn or things like that, but it'll get better.
Yeah. And then you'll look back and you'll laugh.
Yep.
Hard to say that now, but it's true.
You'll cry till you laugh.
You'll cry until you laugh. Correct. Well, thanks so much, guys, for coming on this live. We always enjoy these. I do, at least.
They're great.
I guess I can't speak for you, but I think you enjoy them.
Fantastic. I really enjoy them.
We love just like getting to meet you guys, even though it's still virtually, I guess. But you know, getting to meet you guys, learning about your dogs, learning about your struggles, helping each other find solutions. It's just, we have had a ton of fun being in this community, and we just love seeing it grow, seeing more people come in, seeing the success stories and people, you know, having, you know, overcoming problem behaviors. It's an awesome feeling, and we just love being a part of it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Thanks for participating in the community. Thanks for being kind to each other. Thanks for everything you're doing in there. We're so grateful to have you guys there and just able to share this awesome experience of raising these puppies together. But anyway, everybody have a great afternoon.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
See ya.